And we're back with another episode of the Mark Talks for NXT July 29th of 2025. This show starts out again with the same 10 bell salute and the video package for Hulk Hogan. In the NXT, we have pretty much all the NXT talent who's there at that night in the ring, and then we also have some of the LFG members around the sides of the ring and staff and everything as well. And then we go into a couple packages from what happened last week. They cover the Undertaker and the Trick Williams segment. They also covered the segment with Santino Morello and All Ego Ethan Page. So that'll be cool to see. So Jada Parker and Jasmine Nix is the first match of the night. And Fatal Influence, they're really awesome. Jada Parker is awesome too, so you already know this was a good match. It wasn't a very long match, but it was a good one. Basically, it was Jada Parker basically saying that, I'm ready for the lead member of this group that we have here. She's just showcasing, how good she is. And, Jasmine did a good job in putting it up, but, she didn't win the match, so I guess that's what it says. JC Jane as double champion, I'm a huge fan of that. I'm actually really glad she's double champion, that they picked somebody who wasn't, already a star coming in, somebody who had been grinding their teeth. And also the Fatal Influence theme song is probably in the top 10 current theme songs of my favorites right now. If you haven't had a chance, I would say listen to the theme song itself. And if you're into that type of music, I think you would dig it. So that's my impressions on the first part of NXT. And just like last week, I'm going to do the same format where I'm just going to go ahead and pause it and watch the next match while it's still free on my mind. I will say the one thing I did notice about the WWE website results for this is usually they have order of appearance right around where my head would be. All the superstars is whenever they entered, but they don't have that this time, and I was just wondering, it made me wonder why. And then in segment 2, we have Javon Evans makes his way from the backstage. He stops and chats with Chase U, who builds up that that his Chase U's new students need to, see what they've got and go into the ring. And then, that's just a little backstage Easter egg for everyone. Shiloh Hill and Drake Moreau were also back there, and they, just basically said hi to Javon Evans as he walked by. But that's a nice little Easter egg for people who like that show. I love that show. And Javon Evans comes out and he starts talking about The Undertaker giving him advice that he needs to go after the biggest dog in the yard, and then he wants to call out the big dog. And here Trick Williams comes. Trick Williams basically hypes himself up, talking about he's the best, etc. And he basically, Javon Evans tells him that, dude, I wasn't even talking about you. I was talking about Obafemi. And Trick says that he saw the look in Obafemi's eyes, and that Trick was ready to join JC Jane as being double champ. So it's setting up that there's probably going to be a champion versus championship match between Obafemi and Trick Williams, and I really want Obafemi to win. I think he looks good with gold. I think he would look even better with double gold. And throughout all this, High Rise comes out to start defending Trick Williams, and that leads Javon Evans onto what seems to be the path of he is going to now wrestle probably every member of the High Rise and then wrestle Trick Williams. That seems to be like what is going to be set up as, just considering that he said that tonight he was going to start with Wes Lee, and then they had a verbal confrontation. Javon Evans attacked Wesley, which ended up in the beatdown where you can see in the over there in the top corner, you can see the result of that with everyone standing over Javon Evans. I was wondering who was going to come out and help save him, and nobody did. So that is how the, second or technically third segment, because of the first thing that happened, or even the fourth if you want to count the video packages from last week. Either way, it's just semantics. But that was the segment with Javon Evans and Trick Williams. And then the next match, we have Tavion Heights and Charlie Dempsey. This match was actually set up by Bubba Ray Dudley last week or the week before, I don't remember. Basically, he was like, this all needs to come to a head because there has been some friction between Tavion Heights and Charlie Dempsey. I'll go ahead and just give the backstory just for the people who might not know. So a couple months ago, the No Quarter Catch crew had Miles Bourne in it, and he did not want to be in the group. He wanted to fly solo, so he requested that he have a match with the leader, Charlie Dempsey, to get out of the No Quarter Catch crew. He ended up winning and was able to go solo. So Tavion Heights saw that, and he took the opportunity to ask for his own. So 2 weeks ago, they did have a match, and Tavion Heights was basically put in a submission, and the Bryn Sinclair, who's also in the No Quarter Catch crew, threw the white towel in for him, basically saying that, he submitted or he quit. So that's how that ended, but Tavion Heights never himself did, so it was a controversial finish. So this is that was the lead up to this match. Charlie Dempsey, William Regal's son, so he's a very technical wrestler. It was a very good match because Tavion Heights is an actual wrestler as well, so they had a very amazing match. I would suggest checking this out. This is the first thing from NXT that really steps out, other than the first match with Jasmine Nix. That was good too, but that was more of a building into a story match, whereas this is the end of a story match. Or possibly maybe we're at a midpoint in the story. Maybe we're going to see more of Tavion Heights and Charlie Dempsey as solo stars, and then we're going to get to see what happens to the No Quarter Catch crew, because now it's just Tavion Heights and Charlie Dempsey. Or, I mean, not Tavion Heights, Bryn Sinclair and Charlie Dempsey are the only remaining members of No Quarter Catch crew. So we'll see how that pans out. And then, that was another cool segment. NXT's killing it. I always get excited to see NXT. So on to the next. And before we go into the next segment, we do get a little bit of lead up. Santino comes out up to High Rise and Trick Williams, who are sitting there having a conversation about what's going to happen later tonight, because during the last match, I forgot to add that the commentators said that that Ava had actually made the match between Wesley and Javon Evans official, so that will be happening tonight. I mean, we kind of already knew it was because of how it said earlier, but it was made official. So Santino, comes up and he says, tonight I'm not the director of authority. Tonight I am, a WWE superstar, and I'm going to try to get the North American title from Ethan Page, is what he called him. And then he tells Trick not to get too comfortable with that TNA title because it's coming home soon. So I'm glad to see that. I would like the TNA title to come back to TNA. I'm not sure who should take it. I really don't care at this point, unless Obafemi's going to get it in a champ and champ match. I'd rather it just go back to TNA. I don't like having the men's and women's TNA title in NXT right now, because TNA, I think they should have at least one of their titles. Come on. JC Jane, we can get that. Obafemi, we can get that. But Trick Williams is not that good that he should have the belt over Joe Hendry, Mike Santana. I mean, the list really does go on, but I digress. The next segment, Blake Monroe comes out and she starts basically trashing Jordan Grace. And boosting herself up, basically saying, like, before I was in NXT, you knew who I am, you were buying t-shirts and blah, 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 blah. She had a whole setup. It actually was pretty cool. I would check it out if I were you. And then Lola Vice comes out and says, for someone so pretty, you're so ugly on the inside. And then just goes into how she has created viral moments representing WWE and AAA, and then after that, Jada Parker comes out, basically says that, you two are blah, 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 but I'm going to be getting that North American Championship. And then that's when Jordan Grace's music hits. Blake Monroe backs up, looks scared, and Kalani Jordan comes out. Kalani Jordan basically challenges Blake Monroe to a match, says, if you think that you're that good, well, then why don't you beat me? I'm a former champ. And then a brawl ensues with JC Jane and Jada Parker outside of the ring. But they're not together or anything like that. It's just it happened that way. So we'll see what happens with this, what match we're going to get next. And then that is going to be our lead-in into the next segment. And that next segment would be a backstage segment where we get the calling. And as always, anytime the calling is there, I'm always talking about how awesome it is. I love the group. I think they're an awesome group. Tatum Paxley is a good addition to the group. Tatum and Izzy were talking, and Tatum was basically saying, yeah, I want to go talk to Ava and see that if I can get a match with Sol Ruca for her North American Championship, since we won last week and I was the one who made the pin. And Izzy was basically saying, well, you have to do what I did. You have to pin the champion to get that match. And then Sean Spears comes up with the other member of the calling and basically says that, hey, we had just talked to Ava and you are going to get a match with Sol Ruca. Izzy doesn't look thrilled, so I wonder if that's going to play out to anything later, or if if she's just a little bit salty right now because of what she just said. But Izzy did back it up and say, you know what, that Sol Ruca got lucky at Bash, and that because she had Zarya in her corner to help her. And she says, well, Tatum, you're going to have all of us here in your corner, and so you can bring gold to the calling. So she was positive about it, and they did kind of hold hands as they walked out. So you never know if that's going to end up good or bad. And then it switches right over to how I think it's Luca Crucifino is his name, I believe. I could be wrong. And then he just looks on and says, family doesn't last forever, And so, and then that's our lead into the next segment, where Lash Legend is walking out. So Lash Legend is having a match with Fallon Henley, and apparently this is a lead up for Lash to say, I beat a member of Fatal Influence. Now it's time to go against you, JC Jane, because she wants championship. I will say that, Lash Legend is definitely destined for gold. But I'm not really sure if I want JC Jane to lose the belts right now, so I'm not really too high up on Lash Legend winning any championship from her right now. I wouldn't mind to see Sol Ruka lose it. Because she doesn't really need it. She's so popular, and I'm not saying that JC Jane's not popular. It's just I'm very happy with JC Jane's double champ status right now. So throughout this match, Nia Jax comes in and basically just makes Lash Legend lose the match. So Fallon Henley ends up winning. One thing from the commentary is they did say, one of the commentators mentioned that they believe that out of all the members of Fatal Influence, Fallon Henley may be the most complete superstar. So, who knows what that even means, if that's going to lead up to anything or not. But I did appreciate the nugget of opinion from the commentator. And also, it makes me wonder why Lash Legend didn't continue to play in the WNBA. I still don't know the end of that story, so I really need to look that up. Because every time I see Lash Legend, I always wonder, how come you're not in the WNBA still? Either way, I am glad that she's in NXT and in the WWE instead of there, because I will definitely see her more here. So yeah, and then that's what happened in that segment. Basically, Nia Jax came in and ruined the match, so we'll probably end up getting a rematch later on, because she's probably going to complain to Ava and get a rematch, or who knows, maybe she'll just end up going into a feud with Nia Jax before she ends up going against JC Jane. The next match that we got to see was the match that had been announced earlier, Javon Evans and Wes Lee. This match, as you would expect, was really good just because they're both really good performers. Javon Evans started the match by diving outside to Wesley. So, that was a hot way to start in the entranceway. Of course, High Rise was there and they dealt their little interference, but Javon Evans was able to overcome. If you like the style of fast-paced wrestling, you would really like this one. Because they're both really good and they're both really fast. They did slow it down a couple times during the match just to really sell a couple times. And they're good wrestlers. I'm not really a huge fan of the character of Wes Lee, I will say that. So obviously, I'm over here rooting for Javon Evans. I really like Javon Evans's mic work. He makes me believe in him as a character, because it's not hard to believe that he has been in NXT a while and he feels like he's been working hard and he feels like he needs an opportunity and he feels that he's ready. That's easy to believe because it's true. That's really what he is. He really is a wrestler in NXT and he's really been working hard, and he really does deserve to see some fruits of his labor, per se. So, I'm all in on Javon Evans. So that's really how I feel. I'm glad, the quote unquote, the young OG, unquote. I really don't like that nickname, I'll say that. But you know what? It works for him, so then we'll go for it. But I would like Javon Evans, hopefully, to get past having a nickname like that, or having a nickname at all, because Javon Evans should be, just good, like Ethan Page. He doesn't need to be all ego Ethan Page. You don't have to say that Ethan Page is all ego because you listen to him for a couple seconds and then you find out that he is all ego, So it is what it is. I'm not even gonna continue on that. But yeah, another win for Javon Evans. And just as a little Easter egg, at the end of the match, you can see that Obafemi is standing in like the rafter. Well, not the rafters, but he's standing at an elevated part of the arena that I couldn't tell you where it's at. But he's looking at Javon Evans with his title up, just letting him know, like, I see you, kid. So hopefully that leads into something good. So after the Javon Evans match, we get a little backstage segment with an interview with Miles Bourne, where he explains, the tragedy, I get. Well, not really even a tragedy because he made it out, but how his childhood was. Basically, when he was an infant, he almost died, and he was on a ventilator, and basically there was so much radioactivity on that ventilator for him as a small infant that they had to pull the plug, and that was the first time his heart ever worked. But part of that radiation killed 90% of his hearing. So he said that he reads lip, and that's basically his cheat code. But he does have 10% hearing, I guess. But the point of all that to say is that Lexus King has been basically saying that he's lying. He's not deaf. He's just doing that, to make himself more popular amongst the crowd. He complains to Ava, and Ava says, "Don't worry, bud, you're getting a match with him." After that segment, we see Fatal Influence talking, where they say basically everyone had held up their bargain except for you, Jasmine. You're supposed to be the baddie, and you're over here losing matches. And then Nia Jax comes up, snatches the camera, and tells Lash Legend that she's done. Nia's going to put an end to her. And then we head into the main event of NXT, which is going to be the North American Championship title defense from All Ego Ethan Page against the Director of Authority in TNA, Santino Marella. What can I say about this? I wish it was over sooner. The main event I shouldn't feel that way about, but Santino Marella, I just don't. I'm done with it. He wasn't scared when the boogeyman was around, you know what I mean? So why should I have to, act like I care about this guy? That's how I feel about it. If he doesn't care like he acts about the wrestling business, then why should I care about his character in the wrestling business? That's my personal thing. So I just kind of like blah blah blah'd my way through this match. But I will say that I do really like Ethan Page's new championship belt. I like the whole Canadian thing going. I think it's great for him. I think it adds another level to him because people are starting to like him again. So he had to get the audience to turn on him again, so that's what he did. And so my thoughts coming off of tonight's NXT show was that it was a good show. I really enjoyed it in total. I was excited to watch NXT. I took a nap before I did so I could be refreshed and watch it. I didn't plan to take a nap, but I did anyway. But yeah, NXT is one of those shows that once you get into it, you'll start to realize everything here has a storyline to it, if not two storylines. So if you really dig into NXT and what's going on, it's actually pretty nice, and it's not a 3-hour show. Usually it's, I would say, about an hour and a half. I guess I'm just guessing at this point, but it doesn't feel like a long drawn on show. It's something you can watch quickly. You can consume it. The matches aren't super long. I think it's just great. I would probably have to say my favorite moment of the night would either be Nia Jax's part in here, or maybe even Tavion Heights getting himself out of the no quarter catch crew. So NXT was another banger, another slammer. I really, really enjoyed this episode. And we're going to have to see what Ava has planned for us next week. We already know we have a one matchup at the very minimum, which is going to be Miles Bourne and Lexus King, which is cool because I'd love to see Lexus King wrestle again. It's been a minute since I've seen that. For those who don't know, that is Brian Pillman's son. So yeah, my ending thoughts on that was NXT was awesome. If you like my breakdown, go ahead and give me a like, subscribe, and maybe even leave a comment if you'd like. If you'd like to see anything else, let me know. I'm thinking about doing WWE Unreal reviews. I know they released 5 episodes of that already, so maybe I'll dig into that depending on what my schedule is looking like. But for right now, I'm digging NXT and I'm digging Raw. I'm also really digging SmackDown, but the way my work schedule has been, I watch SmackDown, but just not being able to make a podcast about it at the point. Um, but yeah, all that good stuff. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful night or day, depending on when you're watching. Bye bye.